Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on. I'm coming. I'm coming. Hold on, hold on, hold on. It's gonna be worth it, I promise. Okay. Hello, I'm Cody, and I'm here to talk to you about a brand new camera from Lumix. This one, Lumix S1 Mark II. What do I have to say about this thing? Actually, lots I can say about this thing. First of all, I love it. I really love it. Am I biased? Maybe, because I already use Lumix cameras. So using this thing kind of feels natural to me. But you got to realize with me is that I don't actually know a whole lot about cameras versus some of the other camera reviewers that you're going to watch. I don't have all of the specs. I can't compare things side to side. I can't do all of these things, well, because I don't have a whole bunch of cameras. I have a few. I have this one, I have that one, and I have another one that's at home. Well, actually, I don't think it's at home. I think my brother's using it to go make money. And I think that's what I want to talk to you guys about this time, is how this camera is more than enough that you're going to need to be able to make money being a professional videographer, because it's sick. It's really sick. First of all, let's start with the body, okay? This little thing. It's small. It's got a screen that can like bend this way and this way and this way. That's what you're gonna feel. That's what you're gonna feel when you open this camera up for the first time. You get it out of the box, you're gonna be like, holy smokes. That's a nice camera. Why? Because it's got a nice chunky handle on it. It's easy to hold on to. It's got this sweet, look at this, Lumix. I'm actually gonna give you guys a little fun fact. Here's a fun fact. Lumix is made by Panasonic. Is that fun? No. But the fun fact is, some of the coolest things that I've ever purchased in my life for the first time were Panasonic things. My first Walkman, which wouldn't have been a Walkman, it would have been a cassette player because it wasn't Sony. But my first cassette player that I got when I was a child was a Panasonic, and it changed my life. It was so sick. I was able to listen to music outside of the house and move it around and play with it and rewind and fast forward. And like, I remember it was just one of the coolest things that I had ever had when I was a kid. Panasonic. Unbelievable. And then fast forward a whole bunch of years later, what was the first plasma screen TV that I owned? Panasonic. It was sick. It made such a difference. It was HD. It had like this really big screen. We had it in our living room, and we were just a bunch of young university kids that bought their first fancy TV, and it was a Panasonic. That was pretty cool. And then let's go forward a little bit more to before I had all this hair on my face, when I actually used to shave. My first shaver was a Panasonic. It was fantastic. It did what it needed to do. And it was not as expensive as some of the other ones, which has been a really cool theme of Panasonic this whole time, is that they seem to just be able to build these fantastic products for a little bit cheaper than everybody else is doing it. Big win.
I feel like you're the last person to talk about shaving.
I know, well, I said that. I said that before I started not shaving. I actually just recently bought a beard trimmer in Japan this last time that I was there, and I'm gonna give you a hint on what company built that shaver. Panasonic. Durability, reliability, ease of use, all of that stuff applies to this as well. The button layout. We've got operation locks on the back. We've got all sorts of different switches on the top, 2 different dials, one for your drive mode, one for all of your, shooting modes, manual, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some other physical features of this camera. Fans, keeps it cooler. Does it overheat? I haven't overheated it yet. Can you overheat it? Of course. You can overheat any camera. If you put it in an oven, it's gonna get hot and it's gonna stop working. If you're working in Australia or some kind of crazy desert, then yeah, maybe you're gonna have some troubles with overheating. But so far, I haven't even had it come close. Not even a little bit. So that's nice. Good grip, touchscreen, nice viewfinder. Sweet. That's good stuff. I guess the next thing I'm probably gonna talk about is this sensor, because there's a lot of great cinema cameras, and there's a lot of great hybrid cameras, and there's all these different companies that build all these different cameras. Do I know who built this sensor itself? No, but I do know that it's in the S1 Mark II. What is this sensor? 24 megapixel, partially stacked BSI CMOS sensor. What do all those things mean? I don't know. You're gonna have to look it up. What do I know that it does? Takes really great photos. Unbelievable color depth. It looks so rich. It looks so good. And I mean, Adobe doesn't even have the RAW support for these things yet, so I haven't even been able to dig into these RAWs, but I can tell you these JPEGs are outstanding. They're outstanding. They work great. But I mean, you guys aren't even really here to talk about the picture quality of this because that's what the S1 II is for. This one, we want to talk about the video. We want to talk about rolling shutter. We want to talk about how many stops of dynamic range are we going to get. So this sensor gives you 14 stops of dynamic range. That's pretty good. I mean, 14? That seems like a high number. Let's do even better. You can extend that dynamic range by another 1 stop to 15 stops of dynamic range with the extended dynamic range mode on this thing. That's pretty cool. It means that in this scene that I've got right now, in this like super bright, kind of middle of the day, kind of blown out everywhere, I'm still gonna be able to pull a lot of information back from those files, which is sick. Super, super useful. The best part about this sensor, I think, or as far as like my use case goes, and right now I'm not gonna be able to show you any of that because, you know, it's not winter, but it's action sports. I do a lot of work in like skiing, snowboarding, even like performance art, all these types of things, basically different kinds of activities that have people moving very fast through the frame, that have the environment moving very fast, let's say if I'm moving with the camera. And rolling shutter can be a problem for a lot of people. But the nice thing is, this sensor is fast. It works fast. And so far I haven't seen any problems with that. I'm getting smooth footage, I'm getting beautiful footage, I'm getting really good color depth in that footage. And I mean, it works. It works really well. Yeah, okay.
The footage is creamy dreamy.
This footage that comes out of this thing, creamy, dreamy. The low light performance is quote unquote bonkers. My last camera, the one that's recording me right now, the S5 Mark II, is a fantastic camera. However, it is limited by its 4K performance to 4K 60 with a pretty substantial crop into APS-C. Beautiful thing about this camera right here is I can get up to 120 frames per second in 4K with a very minimal crop of 1.17, which I mean, if you were to use stabilization, E-stabilization, any of that kind of stuff, you're gonna get that crop anyway. So yes, it's not a true fully uncropped sensor for 4K 120, but it is fully uncropped at 4K 60. And if you want to go width-wise, you're basically fully uncropped at 4K, I think 98, where you're not going to lose any of the information from the sides of the sensor because it's going to, you know, cut the top and bottom off, which is pretty handy as well. It's a good price, and it's got a lot of features. Right now, I don't have a piece of paper in front of me. I'm standing, or not standing, I'm sitting on top of a mountain here in the beautiful mountains of central Kootenay. Right next to Nelson, which is actually just over there. Kind of a cool little town. But I don't have all the specs, and I'm going to tell you a whole bunch of specs later. But right now what I want to talk to you about is the fact that this camera, for the price and everything that's packed into it, is a camera that's going to be able to make you money. You can use this thing to produce unbelievable quality images, unbelievable quality video for probably $2,000, $3,000 less than you're going to spend on most of the main competitors in this market. And I think for somebody who doesn't necessarily have unlimited resources and somebody who can, you know, test all sorts of different things, this thing is plenty, if not more than enough than any professional photographer and videographer could ever need. Way more than enough.
So I was fully aware this was going to happen actually, but I'm going to need to add a little bit of detail to what I was talking about because as I'm editing it here, I'm realizing, oh, okay, this doesn't actually make perfect sense. So when I was saying $2,000 to $3,000 less, I was talking about other flagship cameras. I know you can get comparable cameras with comparable prices, but the Panasonic is still cheaper than most of those too. Maybe not by $2,000 to $3,000, but still cheaper anyway.
I want to see what it looks like.
Well, let me show you. Look at this footage. Oh, that looks so nice. Look at that footage. Get it, Tiger. Look at this stuff over here. The lenses. There's so many lenses in the L-mount Alliance. You can go from Sigmas to Samyangs to Lumix with the native lenses to even Leica lenses. Everybody is using that L-mount system, which makes it so you have a huge selection of lenses, and a lot of which aren't necessarily the most expensive. Sigma art lenses, pretty darn cheap. Lumix lenses, also pretty darn cheap. Great performance. And yeah.
Yeah, see, you can see there that I definitely lost my train of thought and I forgot what I was going to say. But what I was going to say is that Lumix lenses have great performance. They have a great price. They're very light. They're well built. They take great photos. The color is really good. The prime lenses are all basically the same size, so you can swap them back and forth if you're using a gimbal. The zoom lenses are incredible. They work well natively with the cameras, and I mean, what else do you really need when you're looking for lenses? Good selection, good value, good performance, and they work great.
I mean, I think if you were to read or listen to all these different camera reviewers on YouTube, Gerald and Cam and Matt and Dustin and all these guys, I mean, they've got a ton of information and a ton of experience on using different camera systems and comparing and contrasting and all of these different things. But the only camera you're ever going to use is the one you buy. And it doesn't really matter what you didn't buy because you're never going to know what it was like. So what I think is really interesting about this is someone who just wants to buy a really high quality camera and just use it. That's the best thing about these things. They're really easy to use. The menus are super simple. You can use all sorts of different real-time LUTs. You can use all sorts of different framing and different types of frame rates and different resolutions. And you can connect this thing to your phone with the Lumix Flow app. You can use Capture One. You can use all of these different things. You could even get RE log C profiles for this, meaning that you could use this camera as a B cam on a high quality production where you're using cameras like RE Alexa. That's a super expensive camera, and you can make this one and that one have the same color profile, so you don't need to worry about color grading between the two cameras. That's sick. Do I use that? No. Would you use that? Probably not, but you can use it though, and it exists.
Daddy's home, baby.
Yeah, daddy's home. So I think another thing that I want to talk about with this camera is the raw capabilities. First of all, the internal recording that you're going to be able to get with the ProRes or the Apple ProRes RAW, it's amazing. I mean, that kind of codec that you can just record straight from your camera, like that's the kind of stuff that you get in really high quality professional cameras that are going to cost you a heck of a lot more than this one is. So that's a pretty cool feature. Now, if you do happen to have external recorders, which can be super, super helpful, it can also record in Blackmagic RAW, meaning that you're not stuck recording or you're not stuck using Adobe software. You can still use the Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve and be able to use 12-bit 6K RAW files in this camera. Now, it's not going to be internal recording. You have to use an external recorder, but still, like, who cares? A nice big monitor, that's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have one of those things.
I think the other thing that I forgot to mention that I think is really important about this camera is that it has an open gate format, meaning it's using the entire sensor when you're filming in 6K. It's actually a really big deal. It means you have 3x2 picture, which is like, you know, what you'd normally take a photo, which allows you to like really crop in, and you can cut different types of frames out of that one piece of footage. Especially useful for people who like to deliver things in horizontal but also vertical format for social media. Super handy. That thing, I'm surprised I didn't actually talk about it up there on the mountain, but that open gate format is a game changer. Game changer. Money maker. Time saver.
What else does this thing do? 32-bit float audio. Now that's something that we can usually only get with our external mics. With the what is it called? I think it's like the XLR2 adapter. I think that's what it's called, XLR2 adapter, meaning that you're actually using professional quality microphones with the XLR inputs. That thing plugs right on top of here on this hot shoe right here. See this little hot shoe right up here? That thing? So with that hot shoe, you can plug in that audio recorder and you're gonna get 32-bit float audio right on the camera, right through this thing. And you'll be able to get 4 channels. Now it's a lot of audio. That's professional audio. And it's baked right into your footage. You don't need to sync it. You don't need to do all these other things. Here's another cool thing actually this camera can do, time code syncing, which is really sick with Bluetooth. And you can even shut the camera off and turn it back on again. And as long as you're using your Atmos time code generator, you can sync up to 6 cameras on that thing. All of your sound, all of your cameras, everything with time code. You don't need to use waveform matching. You don't need to do anything like that. Boom, time code, everything's synced up exactly where it should be synced up. That's kind of a cool feature to have. That's a cool feature to have.
I think your audience probably wants to just have like 30 seconds of you just spend a moment with you silent in nature.
Yeah, okay. It's nice out here. This is British Columbia. Have you ever been? You should come. It's nice. It's fresh. What are we, like 20 minutes away from town? Not even 20 minutes away from town. Look at this. Might as well be in the middle of nowhere. That's nice. It's nuts. It's really nuts. I love it. It's light. It's super stable. Something like 8 stops of stabilization with the inbuilt stabilizer in the camera for the sensor stabilizer. Then you can take it one step further and throw on the electronic stabilization, which is a lot like what you'd see in an iPhone, maybe even like a GoPro. Similar to that kind of stuff, this has that too. It also has a new mode that didn't exist before on the camera that I'm talking to right now, which is cropless, meaning that it can stabilize electronically without making you lose any of your field of view. How do they do that? No clue. Magic. Maybe magic. Maybe that's what's in here. Maybe some of that beautiful Japanese engineering magic, you know? Great stuff. It's weather sealed. It's weather sealed. And I mean, from the last time that I was taking my Lumixes around, they're rated for -10, -5, you know, a little bit of rain, a little bit of this. I don't use my cameras like that. I bring them up mountains in a backpack at -35 in the wind with the snow, pack it completely full of snow because people are spraying me while they're skiing and snowboarding by me, and it's still working. It keeps working. And this thing, not that I've been able to test it in that way, but I'm sure. In fact, I'm sitting here at like a 95% sure that it's going to perform exactly the same, if not better than the last one that I had. So that's a huge bonus. Another bonus, autofocus. The autofocus on this thing, even better than last time. How? I don't exactly know. All this programming, all this stuff that's in this phase detect sensor, which is nice, it still has phase detect, so that everybody wants to see. They don't want any of this defocus depth thing. They want phase detect. This, phase detect. Sick. That means that I'm gonna be able to actually keep all of these skiers and snowboarders and bicyclists and skateboarders and aerial artists focused, locked on, exactly where I want them to be. And that's pretty freaking sweet. So, how does this thing make me money? Well, it's already made me money, which is pretty interesting. I've filmed a couple of things for tourism companies already. I've filmed a couple of things for actually a festival that was here recently for aerial artists and circus performers. That's pretty sick. A lot of cool movement. Boom. It was already there. It was locked on. It was filming slow-mo. It was filming 6K. It was filming whatever I wanted it to. Because the thing is this camera has everything that I need it to do, built right in, and more. It's made me money. This is what is this, an iPhone 16?
15 Pro Max.
This is an iPhone 15 Pro Max. This is the camera. I mean, what the hell? How do you fit all that information into this little thing here? That's like it takes less of a footprint than this phone. Thanks, Ryan. That was really nice. I mean, I'm rambling a little bit here, but the thing is that everybody's always rambling on these things. You know, everybody's always rambling and telling me, oh, you know, there's this and there's that and there's all these different things that you could be doing with your camera, and it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that. I'm going to tell you what it does do. It takes good photos, takes really good videos, and it makes me money. And that's all we really want to do when we're working as professional photographers. We're trying to make money. That's it. So start by not spending $3,000 extra for nothing when you could just buy this. What do I use this thing for? Real estate, great for that. The cropless slow motion is super, super handy for real estate actually. Because of the fact that you can throw this thing onto a gimbal, makes it even smoother than you were going to see before. But it allows you to use wide angle lenses and capture the entire scene without losing any of that, you know, field of view that's really important when you're doing real estate work. And, you know, I'm filming in slow motion. It makes everything that much more smooth, everything that much more professional, which is really nice. How else do I use it? Restaurants, tourism, events, even just personal projects. I mean, I've only had this camera for a short amount of time, but I can tell you that it has vastly outperformed the S1 II in many ways. Yes, Ryan, actually you can. So another interesting thing, I think this would have been last year when Lumix had released the S9, which is like a micro, super powerful camera that does basically what the S1 II does, but in even like a really tiny package, which is pretty sick. But what they did is they actually introduced the Lumix Lab application on your phone, meaning that you're gonna attach your phone and your camera easily and quickly. And the nice thing is the app doesn't even suck. You can get LUTs from a community of creators that work with Lumix or work around Lumix that have uploaded these LUTs into this app, and you can bring them all into your camera. You can have something like 39 different LUTs in here. That's crazy. That means you don't even really need to do a whole lot of editing afterwards. In fact, something that we were joking about is shoot, don't even edit, just share. Just share it, because it's already done.
What's a LUT?
A LUT. A LUT is a lookup table. Basically, if we want to just call it like a preset, it's a preset for video. It's a preset for video, and it's also a preset, this LUT, these LUT profiles, these lookup tables that you can save within your camera. You can apply them to your photos, you can apply them to your videos, you can apply them at 80%, you can apply them at 100%. There's all different things that you can do to be able to just create easier and quicker and speed up your workflow and make more money doing this job, wasting less of your time. For example, I've designed a LUT for a restaurant that I work with. They always have the same look that they want because of the deliverables are mostly for social media and for websites. They want the same color all the time. They want it to always look the same. Pretty easy. I don't even need to do a whole lot of editing anymore. I have this LUT, I designed that LUT, I put it in my camera. When I go to that restaurant, I switch my color profile to that LUT, boom. Every picture I take is already color graded. Every video that I take, already color graded, right out of the camera. That's amazing. Just as amazing as this beautiful view right here. I can tell you I like it. I can tell you I like it a lot. I can tell you that I've used a lot of other cameras, and like I've used other cameras, you know, I have used other cameras. I've used my friends' cameras, I've used my friends' Sonys and their Nikons and their Canons, and they're really nice, and every camera has all these different cool things about it, but I like this one. I like this one more. I like the way it feels in my hand. I like the way it looks. I think it looks kind of like a spaceship. It's got a lot of cool buttons. You can reprogram every one of the buttons on this thing to make them do whatever you want them to. So while, you know, this thing says AF on and this red button in the front here looks like a recording button, yeah, I could leave it as a recording button, but I can also change it to, I don't know, waveforms or vector scopes or histograms or all the really cool monitor functions that you would get normally on an external monitor, but it's right here, built into this thing already, like a professional videographer. Again, I don't use them all. I'm still flying by the seat of my pants here, but I'm trying really hard, and this camera's trying really hard with me. See? Beautiful. I mean, seriously, look at this thing. Look at this thing. Look how cool that looks. Look at that. S1 Mark II. S1 Mark II. You want to see something else that's actually really cool with this camera? Came up with a really clever idea. Leave the curtain closed when it's off. Open it back up when it's on. Close it again when it's off. I mean, that seems like a simple thing to do, but it's just a really great feature. That's nice. We like that. See this? Nice. See this sound? Watch this. Watch this sound. Watch this sound. I don't even have a lens on it, but we're going to listen to it anyway. Wow. Wow. Beautiful. Let's hear it again. Let's hear that again. Oh. Ooh. Ah. That's nice. What a nice sound. It's sweet. I'm excited. Are you excited? I'm sitting back on my chair. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. This is the first camera review that I've ever done. I've got like this wind coming around. Oh, this is a really nice place. I've forgotten a lot of things that I'd like to talk about, but that's okay because I'm just out here trying. And I'm probably gonna just like put my camera in front of my face like this while I'm editing, and I'll just fill in all the gaps. And we're gonna just cut to another version of me that's like another few hours from now, which is also useful.
Yeah, see this is editing, Cody. I kind of lied. I didn't use my camera like this just because it actually ended up getting a little bit too tiring. So instead, it's sitting on a shelf in front of me and I'm standing and talking into this little thing like it's some kind of like, you know, secret interview.
But anyway, sorry, I got off task. Who am I? My name's Cody Scheffelmeyer, better known as Cody Chef, because I very rarely bother writing my entire last name out because it's long. I'm a photographer and videographer, general, just like having a good time type of person. I've traveled around the world lots, kind of just looking for, I don't know, adventure, experience, different things to take photos of, different things to see and do. And it's gonna be a bit of a ride because just like I'm telling you, I don't really know a lot of what I'm talking about all the time. I can tell you that I do have some reasonable experience, and I can tell you that people definitely do listen to what I have to say because I'm not full of shit. I'm being honest. I don't know everything. I don't know everything about cameras, but I'm telling you about my camera because I like it. And I'm going to tell you about a lot of the things that I like. I'm going to tell you about this. You know, we're going to make some random videos about all the random different things that we do out in this world. And I think it's going to be a pretty interesting thing. I'm going to tell you about gear. I'm going to tell you about ways that I fix things. I'm going to tell you about the stuff that I use. I'm going to tell you about the places that I go. I'm going to tell you about the things that I think. Sometimes you can't hear about what I think because that's probably best kept in private. But all that to say, thanks for joining me on this ride. Maybe you should maybe you should subscribe. You never know what you're going to get in this channel. You really don't, because I don't even know what I'm going to get in this channel. I'm stoked. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to be recording this thing. I'm excited to be talking into a camera. And yeah, I think that's pretty good. Come here. I'll come to you. There's a bug in my hair. Like and subscribe, because it's gonna be sick. You wanna hear some philosophy right now?
Yeah.
Well, let's hear some philosophy right now. A man suffers only when he believes himself to be suffering. Yeah, think about that. Think about that. Am I suffering right now?
I am.
No, because I don't believe it. I'm gonna gaslight myself to success. I'm gonna live in a beautiful delusion until it comes true, because that's what is it called? Manifesting is, you know? I'm manifesting my reality. Yeah. We're gonna learn a lot of weird shit. This is gonna be a heck of a journey. We're putting it on the internet though. Okay, I'm done. That's it.
Let's get some chimichangas.
Yeah, let's get some chimichangas.